Hey, True Believers, Englentine here with the top 10 worst independent comic books of 2018. Yeah, I'm going to go through them all, I guess. Alrighty, once again, the way I chose them is very easy. I went to January, just looked all throughout which ones did I absolutely despise, and these are them. Now, there are so many independent comic books out there, I can only put on the ones that I've read, so more than likely, if it's not on this list, it's either I, one, didn't read it, or two, hey, you know what? I just thought these were a little bit worse. Anyway, without further ado, let's get this party started. Oh, and you know what? I do have 5 runner-ups, so let's begin with them. The first runner-up, or I guess the first runner-up we're getting to, because the first runner-up is really number 11. Anyway, at number 15, we have Pacific Rim Aftermath. Now, I guess if you're going to make a comic book based on a movie, the movie should be decent. That was one of the big mistakes. The second one is try to tell a different story. This was so close to what we got on screen. It wasn't exactly, it did veer off, but the beginning of it and everything, it was just like, wow, they really just copied, didn't they, for a while. And I didn't find the characters compelling. Nothing really was interesting about this. It was very much like the second movie, which is kind of disappointing because, man, I really liked that first one. And I was so looking forward to getting this book, but unfortunately, as I read it, it just became disappointing. Man, this is bad. The next runner-up, at number 14, we have Coachella and Eustasia. I hope I'm saying that right, but oh my gosh. Did you hear the one about the 2 naked girls who fought demons in a haunted house? Yeah, or something like that. That is this one. This was very weird. It's on, the review for it is on Patreon. It's, wow. Very weird is just a way to, it starts off with some guy with like a portal face opens up, birds fly out. Coachella and Eustasia go to a house. They take off all their clothes. Obviously, I can't show that part here. And they're fighting what looks like demons. It's very nonsensical. And by that, I mean it's a bunch of nonsense. And ultimately, kind of pointless. Next runner-up at number 13 is Abbott. Now, here's something. I read this book last year, and, well, by that I do mean the beginning of 2018, the end of 2017. It was called Normandy Gold. So freaking good. This book could have been that. Unfortunately, it could not leave the identity politics alone, and that sank it. After a while, it just so cringy. Guys, just let a woman be strong, okay? That's a problem these days. It seems like people can't write strong women without them having to be entrenched in the whole identity politics thing. And to me, that's not strong. If you have to keep going, well, you do this and you do that. No, sorry. You're not coming from a point of strength. You're coming from a point of weakness. And this thing, it really did sink it. Because otherwise, I think Abbott could have been a really good book. The next runner-up at number 12, Robocop, Citizens Arrest. Now, this is not the first time I'm going to complain about changing a character. Robocop should be about, enforcing the law. And if you break the law, it doesn't matter, let's say, what your social standing is. Just saying, you break the law, you get arrested. Unfortunately, once again, identity politics come into it, and they completely change the character of Robocop and Citizen Arrest. And that was the big problem. I would rather watch the remake of Robocop than read this book again. Because at least that remake of Robocop was true to the character. Get what I'm saying? I'm sorry, but I don't like that particular thing. If you're going to write a story, let that character be that character. This isn't the worst injustice as far as that particular thing is concerned. It's just, on the list right now. And at number 11, we have the first runner-up to the top 10 worst independent comic books of the year, and that is Kick-Ass. Okay, I love the original. Now, here's a problem, and I'm going to use an example of another thing that I saw once. There's a movie, oh my gosh, I forgot the title. It stars Robert Redford, and he's in a boat. And everybody's telling me how great this is, so I watch it. And instead of seeing a guy who has a whole bunch of trials and tribulations as he's sailing, I see a guy who's trying to kill himself in a sailboat with all of his bad decisions. That's what this book is. She's talking about, oh, I have all these problems, I have to solve them, and she makes bad decision after bad decision after bad decision while we're supposed to feel bad for her because of what is happening to her. I'm sorry, no. I'm not. If you shoot yourself in the foot, I'm not going to feel sorry for your foot pain. And that is what this book was. I ended up dropping it very quickly because it just was constant. Shoots herself in the foot and says, see, my life sucks. Well, stop shooting yourself in the foot. Maybe things will get better. Unfortunately, I'll never find out if this book did. Number 10. Sellies. Yeah, this is a thing. This is a thing that happened in 2018. There's a comic book about a store that's about to open a big midnight launch of cellular phones, but the stock is bad because the phone leaks coolant and everything gets damaged. While everybody is waiting outside to come in, and they're getting more and more angry because they see the people walking around in the store and just want everything to open. I'm boring myself just describing this. It's supposed to be a comedy. It, I guess, is trying to play into that whole superstore thing that's going on TV, I guess. The art is not all that particularly great. It's, it's not bad for what it is. It's a comedy book, so I can forgive a lot of the cartoon exaggerations, but my gosh, what a boring premise and a boring story, ladies and gentlemen. Number 9. Black AF Widows and Orphans. I understand it's got a reputation around these parts, and this was the very last Black AF I read. I said after this one, you know what? It's not even bad enough to roast. It's just boring. It's dull, and it's got bad art. It gives nothing new. This book does nothing that we haven't seen already, and you could find this better somewhere else, except for with less racism and less identity politics, which, if you notice, is a big no-no to me because it keeps appearing in this top 10 worst comic book list. Well, 15, but you get the point. I just, like I said, I gave up. But I have found out that it does get worse, so maybe I will start bringing them up to roast more often now. I don't know, but then again, JSG just does it so well. Number 8. Judge Dredd, Under Siege. This hurt me. This book hurt me. I love Judge Dredd. I really do. I think he's a great character. One of the things about him is his unwavering sense of law. And here it wavers. He turns social justice. And it's, this is the law, but for you, we'll make an exception because you've fallen on hard times because of... Yeah, I'm sorry, no, that's not the way he is. It shouldn't be like, illegal aliens are illegal, but you know what? I'm feeling compassion today. That's not Judge Dredd, and that's the worst part about the recent Judge Dredd miniseries is how out of character he's being written. Use other characters to show the compassion, not Judge Dredd, and you could still tell this story. I think this was a swing and a miss. Number 7. Crap. It's Kim and Kim. Yeah, I know that's not the way they want you to read it. They want it like, oh, hey, it's Kim and Kim, but I'm not reading it that way. Crap. It's Kim and Kim. That's the way it is. I'm sorry, but Max Visaggio, I've said this before, has one story to tell and has been telling it over and over and over and over again and doesn't even have the writing skills of Tom King. So you can't get away with it. It shows way too much. Unfortunately, this is something I have noticed. There is potential with Max Visaggio. I've seen it. I've seen the potential. Unfortunately, it seems like the indignant rage, the need to get that message out there and just show all the haters, gets in her way. I think she could actually be a good writer, and this could be a good story, and she could write other characters well, but just got to get the chip off the shoulder. Number 6, The Crow, Memento Mori. Now, here's the thing. I don't remember much about this book. I remember reviewing it. I remember reading. I reviewed it for the channel, as a matter of fact. And I don't remember much about it except how much I did not like it. It's a forgettable book. It's no good. I don't know. It was just, I wish I could tell you more. I mean, there's a full review where I tell the story, and I did not like it. I didn't like anything about it. It was dull as hell. And go figure, I had to put it in the middle of the list just because of that, because I literally cannot tell you anything about it except for I read it. I didn't like it. There is a review on my channel proving it, or it might be on Patreon, but I think it's on this channel. Number 5, Xerxes, The Fall of the House of Darius and the Rise of Alexander. Okay, I do remember reading this POS. Oh my goodness gracious. This is not good Frank Miller. This is not good Frank Miller from like the 1980s, early 90s, so forth and so on. This is after he visited and lost himself in Sin City and went crazy. This is bad art, Frank Miller. And I mean, this stuff looks horrible. I didn't even give a good example of it here, but it looks horrible, and it's crazy Frank writing, so it makes no sense. This is just a train wreck, and I'm not talking about, oh, wow, look, cool, a train wreck kind of train wreck. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am now covered in the blood of strangers kind of train wreck. This is nothing you want to see, be a part of, or even be near. Number 4, The Tremendous Trump. Now, I've read more than a couple of political parodies, going after Trump, all sorts of them. Abraham Lincoln Time Turner or something like that was one of them. And they can be entertaining. They can be fun. If you make a good joke, it's fun. It's good to take the piss out of people. I'm conservative. I can take a joke, the whole 9 yards, but it's got to be a good joke. And there isn't any in this book. Sorry, gang. But this is the laziest writing I've seen in a long time. Now, the art is what you should expect. I mean, you see it here. It's not horrible. It's not great or anything. But what really takes the cake is they go after the obvious targets. And that's why it fails. Be a little clever in your takedowns. It's just, oh, you're a poopy head. It comes off very childish. Number 3. Bubba Hotep and the Cosmic Bloodsuckers. Wow. If there has ever been a mischaracterization of one of my favorite independent movies from one of my favorite independent movie actors, it's Bubba Hotep. Man, I love the movie starring Bruce Campbell and Ossie Davis as Elvis and John F. Kennedy fighting a mummy. It was actually, I think it was like more of a vampire, and it sucked out the life force of the old. It was so entertaining, and it was so much fun. And this is just vulgar, and it's vulgar to be vulgar, and that's the big problem. There are no likable characters here, including Bubba Hotep, including Elvis. Yeah, it's just they just didn't get it. They didn't get the character, and in the end, they write an unpleasant book with unpleasant characters doing unpleasant things. Number 2. Maneaters number 1. You knew it was going to be on the list? Don't deny it, you did. You knew it was going to be somewhere, and I am talking to Chelsea Cain. Do you know why I'm talking to Chelsea Cain? Because here's the big surprise. This is a book about young girls who, after they have their period, have a chance of becoming killer cats. Okay, I've seen cat people. I understand. Fine. Anyway, this book was created with us in mind. This book was created, I'm going to put everything in this that they hate. Grr, I'll show them. Instead of a love for a project, it was a hate for our people that made her write this book. So there is no love going into this. Instead, you got every cringy element. The funny thing is had she written this out of love, then her target audience could enjoy this, which would be like tweens, teenage girls, and so forth like that. Instead, do you know who the target audience is? I kid you not, it's us. It is the YouTube critic. This is targeted at people who will roast the book. And she did that out of spite. The point is we're not going to enjoy it on any kind of creative level. We're just going to enjoy it as a book that we can roast. And that, Chelsea, is why you fail. because you're not hurting us. You're just feeding us. Thank you very much. I now have another video to make. And the #1 worst independent comic book of 2018 is Pervert. You know, I actually struggled. Is it Maneater? Is it Pervert? Which one's the worst of them? And in all honesty, I had to land on this one because even though Maneater is a misfire, even though the Chelsea Kane aimed it at us and not the target audience it should have been aimed at least there was passion behind it. This was built up as, oh, this is my life story, this is my passion project, oh, and then when you read it, there is no passion in the book. It's not told with any kind of attachment. This is completely detached. It's hard to get into the characters because the characters aren't even seem to be interested in the story itself, and that's where this fails. That's where this fails dramatically. If there was any sense that the writer cared about what they were writing about, maybe this would have been good, or at least it would have been really bad. Unfortunately, as it stands, it's really bad, but in a way that just makes you bored with it. It should have been so much more one way or the other. And unfortunately, if I forgot the name of the person who wrote it, and you know what, I'm not going to look it up, and because I just don't care enough. I'm sorry. But if you're not going to care about writing an interesting and decent story, I'm not going to care about this book either. It's the worst comic book I've read in 2018. Literally. It's the worst independent comic book that I've read, but in all honesty, it is the worst comic book that I've read in 2018. Overall, there were more good and even great independent comics this year than there were bad comics. This was a much easier list than the good because when I went through the list, I was picking out all the really bad ones and all the really good ones, and I had 73 good ones. I'm trying to whittle down to 10 right now. This, I only had about 20, so it was a lot easier. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this list. I hope you avoid some of these bad comics, but obviously I have to ask, that's my opinion. What is yours? I want to hear your top 10 worst independent comic book list. This is a hard one to make because a lot of times these are passion projects. This isn't just something that somebody jumps onto, and it is kind of hard to rip into them just based on that. But let me know what were the worst independent comic books you came across. And is there something that you liked that I put on this list? Maybe we disagree on that. I'd love to hear your comment. Put it down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to click like. Share, of course. Get word out about the channel. And if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button. The notifications, of course, so you don't miss anything around here. And go on over to Patreon and drop $1 in the till. Helps keep the lights on. Helps keep making videos for you. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that. And to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.